Once blood stops flowing down there, a man doesn't just lose intimacy, he begins to lose himself. Energy fades, sleep becomes restless, and the quiet confidence that once defined his life slowly slips away. I've seen men who still look strong on the outside, but inside, they carry the silent fear that their best days are gone. That loss of circulation is not just a physical issue, it is a crisis of manhood, and it changes everything. My name is Dr. Mohit Khera. I'm a urologist and men's health specialist. And for more than 3 decades, I've dedicated my career to helping men over 60 restore their vitality. I've worked with thousands of husbands, fathers, and grandfathers who came to me with the same concern. Doc, is this really the end of my strength? What I've learned is that while aging is inevitable, decline does not have to be. Most men think the solution lies in a pill. They believe a blue tablet will bring them back to life, but that's a dangerous illusion. Yes, it may give you a night, but it cannot rebuild the arteries that carry blood or restore the signals your body has forgotten. The paradox is that the very thing you've been reaching for may be the reason you've never found lasting change. There is another way forward, a natural, proven, science-backed food that can bring blood flow back down there. Not in hours, but in weeks, safely, steadily, and without the fear of side effects. And it doesn't take complicated diets or extreme routines. Just one simple change, 3 times a week. In a moment, I'll reveal exactly what that food is, how it heals your circulation from the inside out, and why men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s are reclaiming their strength with it. Stay with me, because this may be the turning point you've been waiting for. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss another science-backed tip designed to keep your strength and vitality alive after 60. And I'd love your feedback. If this message resonates with you, type 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, type 0, and let me know how I can serve you better. Now let's talk about the hidden cost of lost blood flow, because when circulation slows with age, it doesn't just affect your performance in the bedroom. It quietly robs you of energy, weakens your sleep, and chips away at the confidence that makes you feel fully alive. 1. The hidden cost of lost blood flow. When a man reaches his 60s, something begins to shift quietly inside his body. At first, it's subtle. You notice you don't wake up as energized as before, your steps feel a little heavier, and those moments of intimacy that once felt effortless now take more effort than you'd like to admit. For many men, the decline in blood flow is the silent thief that steals not only physical performance, but also the sense of confidence that has been a part of their identity for decades. I cannot tell you how many times I've had a man sit across from me, his voice dropping lower as if even speaking the words carried shame, saying, "Doc, I just don't feel like myself anymore." And I understood him. Because this is not simply about sex. It's about the way blood nourishes every part of your body, from your brain to your heart, to the very core of your manhood. When that circulation weakens, the effects ripple through every aspect of your life. Sleep becomes less restorative. Energy dips during the day. Even joy and optimism begin to fade because deep down, you sense that something vital is slipping away. I've seen strong men, retired soldiers, teachers, fathers, struggle with this invisible loss. They tell me they still want to live with passion, to love their partners fully, to play with their grandchildren without fatigue. And yet, their bodies feel like they're betraying them. That is the true cost of lost blood flow. It is not just about losing the ability to perform in the bedroom. It is about losing the fire that makes life worth living. But here's what I tell them every single time. Decline is not destiny. Your body has remarkable potential to repair itself if you feed it what it truly needs. And this is where the story takes a surprising turn, because while many men reach for the quick fix of a pill, the truth is that those tablets cannot rebuild what time has taken. So what if the answer was not in a pharmacy at all, but already sitting on your dinner plate? 2. Why pills fail. I understand why so many men reach for that little blue pill. It seems simple, it promises quick results, and in the beginning, it often delivers exactly what you're hoping for. I've had countless patients tell me about the relief they felt the first time they used it, the sense of power, of youth returning, if only for a night. But as the years pass, That same pill that once worked like magic begins to lose its shine. The dose that once was enough no longer delivers, and men find themselves chasing a result that becomes harder and harder to hold on to. I've watched the disappointment in their eyes when they admit that what once gave them hope now leaves them feeling even more defeated. The truth is that these pills are never meant to rebuild your body. They are designed to force a temporary opening of your blood vessels, like flipping a switch on a weak battery. You might get a spark, but the underlying problem, the stiff arteries, the loss of nitric oxide, the inflammation building silently in your circulation, remains untouched. And in some cases, the reliance on pills creates its own kind of prison. Men begin to feel they cannot perform, cannot even be close with their partners, unless that tablet is in their system. What started as a boost becomes a burden, weighing on their minds and their relationships. I still remember one patient in particular. He looked at me with a mix of frustration and sadness and said, "Doc, I feel like the pill owns me now." That broke my heart, because intimacy should never feel like a transaction with a bottle. It should feel natural, flowing, effortless, alive. But that is something a pill cannot give you. It can only imitate it for a short while. And this is where I remind every man who sits in front of me. The problem isn't you, it's the approach. You're not broken. Your body is simply waiting for the right kind of support. There is a way to strengthen your arteries, restore flexibility, and bring blood flow back naturally. And that path doesn't come from a pharmacy. It comes from a food most men overlook, a food powerful enough to rebuild what pills never could. 3. The natural repair crew, omega-3 fatty acids. When men ask me what truly rebuilds circulation, I always come back to one answer: omega-3 fatty acids found in fatty fish. Unlike pills that force your body, omega-3s quietly support it, reminding your vessels how to work the way they once did. Think of them as a skilled repair crew moving through your arteries. They calm the silent inflammation that stiffens your vessels. They smooth and relax the inner lining, and they awaken the natural production of nitric oxide, the very signal your body depends on to open blood vessels and allow blood to flow freely. I've sat with men who had nearly given up hope, men who told me their energy was gone and their confidence was slipping away. When I introduced them to something as simple as eating salmon or mackerel a few times a week, they looked at me with disbelief, as if real healing couldn't possibly come from something so ordinary. But weeks later, they return with brighter eyes, stronger posture, and often a quiet smile that says everything. I remember one man in his 70s who told me, "Doc, I never thought a piece of fish could change my life." But it did. His energy returned, his sleep deepened, and the spark he thought was gone came back, not because he forced his body, but because he nourished it. That's the difference. Omega-3s don't push your body. They remind it of what it was designed to do all along. And this is not just about intimacy. It's about circulation through your entire system. Your heart benefits, your brain benefits, your muscles benefit, and yes, your manhood benefits too. It is healing that spreads across your whole body, and it begins with something as simple as a meal. What makes this even more powerful is that omega-3s don't just act for a night. They build strength week after week, month after month, until you feel like yourself again. That is why I call fatty fish the natural repair crew. It doesn't just patch the problem, it restores the foundation. And once you understand that, you'll see why the next story I share, a man who thought he had lost everything, shows just how far this simple change can take you. 4. A patient's story. John's return. John was 68 when he first walked into my office. He was a retired mechanic, a man whose hands were still strong from decades of work, but whose spirit carried a quiet heaviness. He sat across from me and after a long pause said, "Doc, I just don't feel like a man anymore." There was no anger in his voice, only exhaustion and sadness. He explained how he had been using pills for years. At first, they gave him back a piece of what he had lost, but over time, they stopped working the way he needed. He felt trapped, relying on something that no longer gave him results. What hurt him most was not just the decline in performance, but the way his confidence had slowly slipped away. He admitted that intimacy with his wife had become rare, and even when it happened, it didn't feel like it used to. I didn't hand him another prescription. Instead, we started with something simple: his plate. I asked him to eat fatty fish 3 times a week. Wild salmon on Mondays, mackerel with greens on Wednesdays, and sardines on toast on Saturdays. It wasn't a strict diet, just a steady rhythm of nourishment. At first, he was skeptical. He had been told for years that only pills could help, but he trusted me, and he gave it a chance. 6 weeks later, John came back, and I noticed the difference before he even spoke. His posture was upright, his eyes brighter, his handshake firmer. With a quiet but proud smile, he said, "Doc, I didn't take the pill last night, and I didn't need it." His wife, who had accompanied him, laughed and said, "Whatever fish you told him to eat, don't stop." But the change went far beyond the bedroom. John was sleeping better, waking up rested, and his energy during the day had returned. He wasn't just functioning again, he was living again. John's story is one I share often because it proves a powerful truth. Your body can respond, no matter your age, if you give it the right tools. But what exactly is happening inside the body to make this transformation possible? The answer lies in the science that explains why fatty fish is so uniquely powerful, and that's what I'll show you next. 5. The science of why this works. By the time a man reaches his 60s, the body he once relied on without thought has already begun to change in ways he may not even notice. One of the most critical shifts is the dramatic drop in nitric oxide production. In your 20s, your body produced this powerful molecule abundantly, keeping blood vessels flexible and open, delivering oxygen and nutrients to every part of you. But as decades pass, that natural supply dwindles, sometimes cut in half or more. Without it, arteries stiffen, blood flow weakens, and the very systems that once allowed you to feel alive and strong begin to falter. This is why so many men find themselves struggling, not because their desire has disappeared, but because the circulation that fuels everything has slowed to a crawl. Omega-3 fatty acids, found in fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines, go to work directly where the problem begins, inside the delicate lining of your blood vessels, called the endothelium. This inner layer is like the command center of circulation. When it's healthy, it signals your arteries to expand and contract smoothly, ensuring blood flows freely down there and throughout your entire body. But when it's damaged by years of poor diet, stress, or aging, those signals weaken. Omega-3s repair and protect this lining, restoring its ability to release nitric oxide. The result is not just more flexible vessels, but stronger, steadier circulation that supports your heart, your brain, your energy, and your manhood. I've had patients tell me they were amazed at how their whole body seemed to respond. It wasn't just that intimacy returned, it was that they felt younger, clearer, more vibrant. And that makes sense because blood flow is life flow. When your arteries open up, every cell gets the oxygen it's been craving. It's as if the lights in the house are turned back on after years of dimming. That's the true power of this approach. Unlike a pill that forces one narrow pathway for a few hours, omega-3s rebuild multiple systems from the inside out. They restore what aging has taken, piece by piece, meal by meal. And if you're wondering what that looks like in real life, let me share with you the emotional truth men often discover once their circulation begins to return. 6. The emotional truth. When blood flow slows, most men assume the greatest loss is physical. They tell me about the frustration in the bedroom, the way intimacy feels harder to reach, and the embarrassment that follows. But what many don't realize until it happens is that the real cost is emotional. I have seen men, strong, capable men, carry a quiet heaviness in their eyes because they no longer feel like the husbands, the partners, the men they once were. They may still love deeply, but they hold back, afraid of disappointment. They may still laugh with their families, but inside they feel a step removed from the joy they used to know. It is not just about losing performance, it is about losing a piece of identity. I remember one gentleman in his 70s who told me, "Doc, I don't even try anymore because I'm afraid to fail." Those words stayed with me, not because he lacked desire, but because fear had built a wall between him and the life he wanted to live. And that's what reduced blood flow really steals, not only your energy and confidence, but also your hope. Without hope, even the strongest men begin to shrink into themselves. But when circulation returns, something remarkable happens. I've witnessed it countless times. Men begin to stand taller, smile more easily, and reconnect with their partners in ways they thought were gone forever. They find themselves laughing again, planning again, even daring to dream again. That is the emotional truth. Restoring blood flow restores far more than physical strength. It restores dignity. It restores connection. It restores life itself. And here's the most inspiring part. This transformation does not require perfection or drastic change. It begins with small, steady choices, like adding fatty fish to your plate 3 times a week. That simple act can set in motion a chain of healing that reaches every corner of your life. And now that you understand not only the science but also the human side of this journey, let me show you how to take these insights and turn them into practical, everyday habits that can carry you into a stronger, brighter future. Conclusion. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want to bring all of these truths into focus. We began with the hidden cost of lost blood flow, a change so many men face in silence after 60. It robs energy, steals sleep, and chips away at the confidence that once defined who you were. Then we looked at why pills fail. They promise quick relief, but they cannot restore what time has slowly worn down. Instead, they leave many men feeling trapped, chasing results that fade with each passing year. From there, I showed you the natural repair crew, omega-3 fatty acids found in fatty fish. Unlike pills, these nutrients go directly to the root, calming inflammation, restoring flexibility, and reminding your blood vessels how to open naturally again. And through John's story, we saw that this isn't just theory. A man who thought his best days were behind him discovered that with 3 simple meals a week, his strength, energy, and intimacy could return. The science behind it is clear. Nitric oxide is the key, and omega-3s unlock the body's ability to produce it once more. When your circulation improves, it doesn't just heal one part of your life. It renews your heart, your brain, your muscles, and your manhood. And beyond the science lies the emotional truth. What men gain back is not only performance, but also dignity, joy, and the confidence to feel fully alive again. I've spent decades walking beside men who feared their time had passed, and I've watched them rise again with something as simple as a shift in what they eat. That is why I tell you with absolute certainty, decline is not destiny. You are not broken. Your body still remembers, and with the right care, it can respond. So let this be your reminder that it is never too late. Start with 1 serving of fatty fish this week, then another, then another. Small steps become lasting change, and lasting change becomes a new chapter in your life. If John could find his way back, so can you. And perhaps the greatest gift is knowing that the strength you thought was gone has been waiting all along, waiting for you to bring it back.